Welcome everybody to another episode of Kawaii Terrapin. This is Dr. Kalser showing you around the farm, and today's kind of a special day because we revealed our chocolate ferment. And we just took it out of the ferment today. It fermented for 10 days after we harvested it from the pods. And we keep it warm as we can because in Kauai it's pretty much the highest latitude that you can deal with chocolate. Most of the chocolate is made a little south of here, between 20 degrees latitude and the other 20 degrees latitude in the equator zone. But we're 22 degrees, so it's a little cooler here. So fermenting in the winter, we usually use a heating pad to keep the ferment warm enough to ferment well. And this batch fermented pretty well. As you can see, the rich brown color of the beans. They just started to dry, so there's still some Michelin on the outside. And I'm gonna try to taste a couple of these with you. I always like to taste the different batches of chocolate. In fact, I taste every pod. When I take a pod out, I'll crack it open, and I'll taste the whole bean, the Michelin, the bean, everything. I know it's early, you can't really taste what the chocolate's gonna be like. But I like to make sure it's not, a pod that's not going to be so good. I don't want to keep that in my ferment there. So these are all pods that were hand selected by us. I think you can see the color there. It's the color of purple. And that's what we're looking for in the ferment. It's not dry, but it's not moist either. It's pretty much like the fresh bean was when you put it in the ferment 10 days ago. Tastes nothing like you would think like a Hershey's bar tastes like, or chocolate or something. It's not like that at all. It's the precursor, you might say, the ingredients of chocolate. So we're gonna leave this out here in the sun. Now it's gonna rain a little bit, and I'm probably gonna cover this because I don't want it to get wet. I don't mind if it gets a little damp, a little sprinkle here and there, but I don't want it to not dry quickly enough to avoid the things that like to invade things that stay wet around here, like mold and mildew, different kinds of mold, which we don't want. Now we did use a little bit of yeast when we do our ferment. But these are really coming along well. Very happy with it. These were out like 4 hours ago. I took these out of the ferment. They were all wet and gooey. And it was very windy today. Oh, that's a beautiful one. Can you see that on the camera? We'll get right in there. There it is. That's the inside. Very tasty. What develops in the ferment is the tannins. It's kind of like curing anything. Whether it's wine or herbal products, half of it's growing, etc., and half of it is what you do with it afterwards. The ferment, the value-added products that we make out of chocolate. So after they dry here for a while and get nice and dry, we have a little apparatus that we put it in that tells us exactly what the moisture is in the bean before we put it in storage for a little bit. We found that if we leave it in storage a little bit before we make the chocolate, it's actually better. It develops some tannins that wouldn't have gotten developed previous to that. Now we make a single estate, all of our chocolates from here. We don't sell any of it publicly yet, but someday we might do that. Right now we just share it with friends. We only make, maybe 10, 20 pounds a year, the very most. But this is the chocolate making process. After it's nice and dry, we'll store them for a little bit, and then we'll take them to the cracker, and they literally crack them open, and then they go through a thing called winnowing. Winnowing is when they blow away the husk. Even though I like to eat the husk, apparently the FDA is not big on having husks in your chocolate. That's not a thing. Now, several companies now sell the beans basically like this, but dry. Oh look, there's a dog here. Hello, Pa. Hello. Anyway, these will be husked, and then the raw cacao will be available to us. And out of that, we'll make a liqueur. It's like you blend it. Basically, you put it through a champion juicer or something like that to blend it, blend all those processes together. And then the sugar is added. Now, you kind of need a little sugar in this. It brings out the flavors. Even once it's all done and processed and everything, adding sugar actually enhances the flavor a bit. So we use a little cane sugar, and you add a little cacao butter to this too, so it's more fluid. And then we pour it in molds. We have several different several different kinds of molds. Some are hibiscus flowers, and some are, different things. And we also make bars, a few bars. And we usually consume those ourselves around the farm here. But it's very yummy. And that process of adding the sugar is very interesting. It's called melangering. And it's just imagine this, a big cauldron, right? And there's an axle in the middle that comes up. And attached to that axle are two round stones, like wheels. They're granite usually. And the bottom of this pan is steel, stainless steel, thick. And these little wheels slowly go around, crushing the sugar against the bottom of the pan. And this pan is warm. It's kept warm for, sometimes they melange it for a couple days. Depends on the kind of chocolate and how they're trying to do it. We don't like to over melange it. In fact, we don't usually melange our chocolate. We have a untempered chocolate. And I like that. I have no reason to temper it so much. It doesn't change the flavor, it just changes the texture. That's the crispiness you get when you crack open a bar. Now, ironically enough, I find ours pretty darn crispy. So if you're looking for that kind of crack, which we're not, but it's almost like it's tempered. And you'll see some chocolates, especially Mexican chocolate, is usually processed and sold and consumed untempered. You find these little discs of chocolate, and it takes a little granular, so you can taste the texture of the sugar. That's why they melange it. Here's my buddy. Get on camera here. Here's the wonder dog. Yeah, he's a good dog. My friend found him up in the homesteads there, and he was in the woods, loose, sad, and very thin. Anyway, that's the chocolate business. That's how chocolate's made. It's quite a process, planting the trees, etc. In fact, we'll probably do a video in the near future about planting the trees for this season. In the meantime, have a great day and aloha.